and a daughter, and they were just like, oh, just like, no, hit it. And I'm like, it was just because the two cars came across each other. Otherwise, neither of us would have hit them because they're pretty quick. But I was just like, wow, boom, exploded on the mail truck. I never told anyone, bird strike, log it. It's like,
and it was a quail.
It was a quail. It was.
Yeah.
May it rest in peace.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're cute little buggers. But anyway,
yeah,
it happens. Just happens.
Oh yeah, sure. You can't avoid it.
Oh, what did we say? Pathogens happen too.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, landscapes, yards, they are dynamic. They change over time, and you can always plug in new stuff. Okay, so going back to, you kind of get the drift as far as like what type of plantings you can use for food and shelter and whatnot, brooding and whatever. And the water feature was kind of a huge part of our yard. And so, and just to give you kind of some specs on the size of our yard, now before our house was built, this area was a wetland, okay, with no houses on it. And I think that was another reason why we were, kind of influenced to be like, you know what, we just built our house on these wetlands. Let's kind of give back,
right,
and let our backyard be still a part of what it was.
The displaced animals have a place to retreat to.
That's right.
Whatever.
Yeah. So a water feature, that was a key component, to make sure you have water, and with water comes all kinds of wildlife, right? Almost even more so than food varieties. And so we were like, okay, the size of our backyard is literally like the entire lot is a fifth of an acre. So the back of the backyard is a third of that. Do the math.
Right.
Anyway, it's small. It's actually quite small. So, but we're like, okay, we want to put in this pond, and we want the pond to be about a fourth of our backyard. I mean, that's going to take up a fourth of our backyard, that water feature. And we're like, oh, okay, this is super cool, at the time. And we're like, well, we can still have plants in the pond.
Yeah.
So now we have plants in the terrestrial area, then we have plants in the aquatic area. And so my wife and I took this pond building class from a brilliant guy up at, near Utah State. It was up in Kaysville, but Sterling. His name's Sterling, and he just a brilliant pond builder and aquatic plant supplier. And it was a course. It was like a 3 or 4 evening course, and we learned how to build a pond right. So we go out there, we're digging, obviously after blue stakes. Anyway, and we're digging. We dig the shelves out. We do everything correct. We prep everything, and we had the time to do all that back then. We'd go to work, come home, and we'd work on our backyard every night. And it was something that was great bonding experience between my wife and I. And
before kids.
Yeah, before kids. We had dogs, and they'd be out there chilling with us while we're building this backyard wildlife habitat. And so, anyway, we get the pond up and running, and we've got this reverse osmosis system. No, it's not a reverse osmosis, but anyway, it's a filtering system that doesn't use chemicals. So then we throw fish in there to help with the mosquito larvae population, and that kind of eases the tension there as far as being bit by mosquitoes and West Nile virus. But and all of a sudden, our yard now, which is kind of cool, that it's not only a backyard wildlife habitat, but now we have a completely different component or room, you could call it, within the yard, and that's the aquatic area. And that has brought in so many different animals. Of course, a lot of snakes. Okay, and I'm not talking poisonous snakes, although we do have those rattlesnakes, and I haven't seen them in my yard. But we have those in Utah, right?
Yeah.
But these are like gardener snakes, and that's, in a nutshell, that's all I've seen in my backyard.
They're just going after insects,
Yep.
grasshoppers.
That's right.
Stuff that are going to hurt your plants, actually.
Yeah. So the snakes it's a good component, even though it's a little creepy. It can be. It was kind of cool when my kids were young. They'd be like, let's go grab the snakes, and all the neighbor kids would come over, and they'd have a great time, picking up snakes. But anyway,
you should try frogs. See if you could do frogs.
So this is what's interesting is before we moved in there, and there was a wetland area, you could hear the frogs at night.
You don't even
and you rarely do. Once in a while you do.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. But it's a rare occasion. And when we do, we're just like, oh, that is such a score. And frogs, as you know, they're the most sensitive of varieta.
Yeah.
And they're the first ones.
Indicator species of something wrong happening in the habitat.
That's right.
When all the frogs go away.
Yeah. And with that, we try to be super careful with any kind of, usually the fertilizers are all organic. Really, really careful with any kind of chemical application. And so that we can still have, or at least try to encourage the amphibians to come back and chill with us. But so yeah, a lot of snakes, a lot of birds. Some of the bird species that we've seen.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what are some cool things that you've like?
Some that have just blown my mind, and in fact, I've actually never seen them before until we had a pond, and this backyard wildlife habitat was a kingfisher.
No way.
Yeah, just chilling up in the tree, and so right next to the pond. I'm getting off on a tangent here. Right next to the pond, we put in a bald cypress, a swamp cypress.
Yeah.
And we're like, dude, this is going to be so cool. We'll get those knobby knees growing down into the pond and whatever. And sure enough, and it's taken 15, 20 years for that tree to start getting the knobs on those knuckles. But anyway, oh man, I'm totally stoked about that. So, yeah, kingfisher. And of course we have little goldfish. We had goldfish in the pond, and that's exactly what this bird was eyeing. Were those goldfish? And sure enough, I
went
saw
down,
it dive
grabbed
down
one.
in. Yep. Comes out, and about 5 of our biggest fish disappeared that day.
No friggin' way. That's awesome, though.
Yeah, but it was totally worth it. Like, it was a once in a... I mean, it was just so cool to see
just to see it.
Yeah.
Oh, that would be so neat.
Yeah, but I mean, so we were like, oh, we got these bird books and being able to identify birds. And there's every type of chickadee. We've seen every type of sparrow. Top favorite, hummingbirds. Love hummingbirds, and everybody knows if you put out a feeder, you're going to get hummingbirds. But also, there's plantings for hummingbirds, or at least to attract hummingbirds, and those are kind of like the trumpet vines and the foxgloves and those tubular flowers. Mm-hmm. And a lot of those are perennials. So for those of you out there, plant your perennials, be mindful of those things, and you'll have a chance to see a lot more wildlife in your yards. So let's see, there were towhees, the birds that kind of go around and peck like chickens. They're really cool. Bluebirds, a lot of scrub jays, and then actual bluebirds. There's a lot of those little yellow birds. They're
finches.
There's finches. There's I want to say, I'm not going to get the word right.
I don't know.
Anyway, we've seen owls come through.
What is that?
Barn
it's a
owls?
Baseball team. Orioles. You seen orioles?
I've seen a large orange bird, kind of orangish yellow bird.
You couldn't identify it?
No, because I'm like, I mean, those just don't show up.
Yeah.
There's the wetland bird that comes through. It's the black, red-winged blackbird.
Red-winged blackbird.
Yep.
Is it a yellow-headed blackbird too?
Yeah.
Those are cool too.
They would come through. There's the meadow larks would come through. Beautiful.
Brewers, blackbird, cowbird.
Yeah.
Those are more common.
Yeah, they're more common. But as far as the raptors go, which was actually quite surprising, is owl.
Yeah, I was going to say that's the one I've seen like close to my house when I was growing up were owls.
Yeah. And being in an urban area, as urban as Utah County is. Anyway, that was pretty fantastic to see owl, and then also hawks. And of course, when you bring a lot of birds into your yard, you're going to see hawks. Yeah,
that's way cool.
And I was able to get this really close up picture of a Cooper's hawk. Just blow your mind. Just absolutely beautiful. Nature is beautiful.
So that is way cool because I've done a little bit of birding, and I have a cousin who's way into it, like way into birding. And to get them to come to you, that's a whole other trick, man.
Yep.
That's so freaking cool.
And it's and really, and like I say, the food part is good, but really it's the water. The water is really the central component that brings everything together. I have seen, so our backyard is fenced in, and we occasionally leave our gate open on the side. Well,
see what comes in?
No. It was semi-accidental.
What'd you get?
So I wake up in the morning, I go downstairs, I start making breakfast, I look out the kitchen window to the backyard, a deer with the velvet.
Nice.
So it was like a 2 or 3 point, and it had velvet, and I'm just like, what? Full-size deer in my backyard? No way.
You just leave it open all the time.
Yeah, well, so...
You got your little dog.
Yeah. Little dog's got to stay safe. But a couple other varieties of animals that really just kind of blew my mind. Skunk.
Whoa.
Yeah, saw a skunk in there this past year, and I wanted to get a picture of it. It was kind of in the middle of the night. They're super nocturnal creatures. So I go grab a flashlight and I cruise out there, and I'm like, oh God, I got to be careful. If I get too close, I'm gonna get sprayed. I got to be stealth, and I just didn't. My phone on my camera on my phone just wouldn't do it. Wouldn't take the picture properly. Wasn't enough light. So I'm like, dude, how can I prove this to everybody? Anyway, it happened. It was amazing.
I would have thought maybe a fox.
Yeah, see, that would be the next step. That would be the next level.
To get a fox in your yard. That's crazy. Predators.
Yeah, so we would try to attract, crazy enough to say it, but squirrel or chipmunk.
Yeah.
Neither one.
Never.
Not once.
And
I'm kind of fine with that.
Yeah.
Fine with that. We ended up having the rodents, plenty of rodents, and that's what happens when you have seed out for birds and whatnot. So anyway, back to the certification. Certification.
No, that's the whole reason why to do it right there. You know? So
yeah.
I like you sharing that.
And so we went around, searched for these plants in all the local nurseries, found what we needed to, and wrote our list out. Proved that each plant had a purpose, and that's even cool too. When you're thinking about each and every plant that you're putting in your yard, and what's its purpose? Are you doing this for the flowers? Are you doing this for the leaf color? Are you doing this because it provides something for the plant, the animals, or yourself even? There's a lot of edibles that we can eat that animals can as well. So. That's kind of a cool thing, a lot of herbs, chives, and things.
So when you're planting all these things and your neighbors, and maybe you're showing it to people or whatever, do you ever get anyone wanting some? Where'd you find that? What does that do? I want to attract some stuff. Did you ever get to share some of your varieties with people?
That's a great question. You mean as far as like sharing the plant material?
Yeah, just like, they wanted to find out what it was or whatever, and you were just able to share what you have made, Maybe not necessarily giving them a plant.
Oh, I see. Yeah. So, a lot of people, when they see the backyard,